I thought I would do another video for you guys today. This one, I thought I would talk about some of my pet peeves, things that really pee me off. So my first pet peeve is dog owners not cleaning up their dog poo. Now, obviously, it really pees me off when when I'm walking out and about and I see dog mess all over the pavements and things like that, because people are letting their dog owners poo, obviously go to the toilet, and they're not picking it up, which is what they should be doing. Obviously that's the decent thing to do. Obviously, would be to pick that dog poo up and put it in a bin. Something like that takes only a few seconds to do. It's just pure laziness from these people that don't bother to do that. And I know a lot of people tend to use the excuse that they didn't have anything to pick it up with. But that's not an excuse. When you're taking your dog out for a walk, the one thing that you should always make sure that you have is poo bags. As we always do. Whenever we take our dogs out for a walk, we always like to make sure that they do have poo bags on them. That we do have poo bags, so if they go to the loo, we can then pick it up and put it in the bin. Which is obviously what most decent people do. And obviously the majority of dog owners do have the decency to do that, because at the end of the day, people shouldn't have to step in dog mess because someone's let their dog poo on the floor, on the pavement, and not even bothered to pick it up. There's been times where I've walked past schools and seen dog mess on the pavements outside schools, and I just think to myself, like, why are people allowing their dogs to do their toilet outside the schools and not even bothering to pick that up? I mean, why do they think that the children should have to step in that dog mess because they've not bothered to pick it up? If people aren't being bothered to pick up their dog mess, then they shouldn't own dogs, full stop. It's like, why would you own a dog? And why would people own a dog if they can't even be bothered to pick up their dog mess? As I say, it only takes a few seconds to pick that dog mess up and put it in a bin. It's not the end of the world, It's not something that it's gonna take a huge amount of time out of your day. It takes just a few seconds to do that, and it's a decent thing to do. Nobody should ever have to step in dog mess because people aren't being bothered to pick it up. It's just pure damn laziness is what it is. And I'm sorry to say it, but I have to say it as it is, as I see it, which it is pure laziness. There's no excuses for the fact that they're not even bothering to pick the people that their dogs shit on the pavements, and they don't even bother to pick that up, which is what they should be doing. It's just disgusting. You're walking around and you're seeing dog muck everywhere because people are not bothering to pick it up. What's the point in people having dogs if they're not going to do that simple thing? They're not going to do that one thing that's so simple, to do. Because that's the thing, picking up dog mess and putting it in a bin is a very simple and very easy and straightforward thing to do. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be a fucking expert to do that. And it's what you do if you are a dog owner. You pick up your dog shit. You don't leave it on the pavement for someone to step in it. Because that's just pure damn laziness, and if you're gonna do things like that, that just shows that you shouldn't be owning that you shouldn't be owning a dog. I'm sorry to say it, but it has to be said. There's no excuses for not picking up dog mess. It's just pure damn laziness. Just having to say it like it is, So my second pet peeve is one that really gets on my nerves because I think it's very unhygienic, and it's people spitting on pavements where other people have to walk. Like, I just think that's it's really disgusting. When you see people do that, it's so unhygienic. Like, people don't need to be spitting on pavements where other people have to walk. If you're gonna spit, spit down the drain or spit in the bin. Don't be spitting on pavements where other people have to walk. I thought that with me, whenever I see someone do that, I can't help but have a go at them. And my mum's the same. Whenever she sees someone do it, she has a go at them and says, "You filthy animal," which is what they are, because they should, I mean, what else are you supposed to say for someone that thinks it's okay to spit on public footpaths where people have to walk? It's disgusting and so unhygienic, and it's spreading germs as well, is what it's doing. Which is why I don't like it. It's spreading unnecessary germs, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, even I have a go at people when I see them do it. It was something that I really had a go at a lot of people for during the pandemic. Obviously back around, 2020, 2021, I was walking out and about and I'd see someone spit on the floor, and I would lose my and I'd lose my wit at them. Because I was so angry at the fact they felt it was acceptable to be doing something like that when we were in the midst of a pandemic. Obviously, we're not really in the midst of a pandemic now. I mean, yeah, people still get COVID, but it's not as major of a pandemic as it was a few years ago. But it's still not really. Just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean we're not in a pandemic anymore. It doesn't mean it's acceptable for people to do something like that. It's actually disgusting, and it's not something I'm gonna condone. And I know a lot of people might think I'm making a fuss over nothing, but as I said, when I used to see people doing it in the pandemic, it really sent me into a rage. Because it was really disgusting. Like, we were all following following the guidelines, wearing our face masks, obviously following the social distancing rules and things like that. And then you had other people who thought it was acceptable to be spitting on public footpaths. And it was just really disgusting, at the end of the day. And I actually had to go at someone really badly one day. I was coming back from college, and I seen this guy spit on the floor. And this was 2020, so when we were right in the midst of this pandemic, I really lost my wit at him. I said, as it's disgusting, I said, people in the midst of a pandemic, people are getting seriously ill. They're ending up in hospital seriously ill. And you're thinking it's acceptable to spit on the floor. I said, it's disgusting, you shouldn't be doing that during a pandemic. And obviously the guy tried to apologise, but obviously I wasn't having it, I wasn't hearing it, because I just thought it was unacceptable, don't bother to apologise, it's not even something you should be doing in the first place. I just can't stand it. There's no need to be spitting on pavements or, public footpaths where other people have to walk. Simple as that. I mean, so next up is people sitting in seats that are reserved for disabled passengers on buses and trains. Now, obviously, I don't know what it's like in the US, but here in the UK, obviously, whether you're on the London Underground, whether you're on the DLR, whether you're on the buses, you'll always see priority seats for people who are elderly, pregnant, or less able to stand. And obviously those seats are basically are reserved for elderly, pregnant, or disabled people. If you're not an elderly, disabled or pregnant person, you shouldn't be sitting in those seats. As so many people do it. It's not something I do. It's not something anyone should be doing. If you don't have a disability, if you're not an elderly person, if you're not pregnant, don't be sitting in priority seats that are meant for those people. It's like, why would you want to take up a seat that is meant for an elderly disabled or pregnant person? And what's funny is that when these people do it, if an elderly person or a disabled person gets on the bus, they don't even get up out of that seat and move to let that person sit down. They just sit there. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, it's something that I do out personally when I'm on buses or I'm on trains. If someone gets on and they're elderly or they're disabled or whatever, I offer my seat because it's the right thing to do. I don't let them. I don't let them stand there. I don't let them stand there. And if I don't let them. I don't let them stand there when they're disabled or they're elderly. I let them sit down. But so many people don't do that. So many people don't move when an elderly person or a disabled person or a pregnant person gets on the bus. They don't even have the decency to move to let that person sit down. And they're sitting in the priority seats. And why are you sitting? It's like, why are people sitting in priority seats for disabled, elderly, and pregnant people when they're not one of those people? If they don't have a disability, they're not elderly or they're not pregnant, but then they don't need to be sitting in those seats. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. If you're not elderly, if you're not disabled, if you're not pregnant, then just stand up. What's the harm in standing up? You don't need to be sat in a priority seat that's meant for someone that's disabled, elderly, or pregnant. It's just disrespectful. And it's pure ignorance is what it is. Just saying. So the next thing I can't stand is people standing by the back doors on buses. Now, obviously, I mean, when I'm on buses and stuff, I don't like to stand by the back doors because it's not safe. Obviously, if the driver opens the back doors, you could go flying off the bus, and that nearly happened to me one day, but unfortunately, I had no choice but to stand right by the back doors because there was nowhere else for me to stand because the bus was so packed. And the driver opened the back doors and I nearly went flying out the bus. Obviously, we could have sat down, but we chose to stand up because we weren't going that far. Had we been going a further distance, we would have sat down, but because we were only going a short distance, we chose to stand up. That was what happened when I nearly went flying out the bus. Me and my mum had a go at the driver, and another female passenger who was on the bus was like, "Oh, why don't you just sit down?" And we were saying, "Well, we're only going a short distance. We don't really need to sit down. It's simple as that." I mean, obviously, as I said, had there been somewhere else, had there been another space for me to stand, I would not have been stood by the back doors. But I was only stood by the back doors because I had nowhere else to stand. But if there's other space for people to stand, they don't need to be standing by the back doors. The thing is, when people are stood by the back doors, I feel like it makes it harder for people to get on and off the bus. Because people are in the way of the doors. People shouldn't be standing by the back doors if there is more space to stand. Don't be standing by the back doors, making it harder for people to get on and off the bus. Has to be said. So my next pet peeve is people huffing and spluttering everywhere, not covering their mouths when they do that. I always do it. I always cover my mouth when I cough, especially if I'm out in public. I don't like to be walking about in public and not covering my mouth when I cough. I like to do that, it's respectful. I mean, I remember where we were going now, but the other month we were on the bus and there was a guy on the bus and he was literally coughing and spluttering. And he wasn't even bothering to cover his mouth. He was just sitting there coughing and spluttering everywhere. And my mum had a go at him and said to him, cover your mouth. Like, that's what he needed to do. He needed to cover his mouth because he was coughing and spluttering everywhere, and then it's spreading germs. It's a similar thing to the whole kind of spitting thing, because it's a thing that's kind of it's spreading germs. Which is why I'm not a big fan of people doing it when they're sitting there coughing and spluttering. At least have the decency to cover your mouth when you're doing that, and when you're sneezing as well. Don't sit there coughing and spluttering and sneezing everywhere. Especially, other people don't want your germs. Keep your germs to yourself. That's what I'm gonna say. So my next pet peeve is bus drivers letting too many people on the bus, and then asking people to move down inside the bus. Now, I've encountered this on a ridiculous amount of occasions. When I've been on the buses, like on the D6, on the 309. Those buses are not exactly, they're not very big. They're single decker buses and they're quite small buses. But the bus drivers will keep trying to, and it's happened on other buses as well. Bus drivers will keep trying to ram people on. And when the bus is so packed, they come on and they're telling people to move down move down the bus because they can't be stood by the cab. I think it's illegal. I think it's illegal for passengers to be stood by the cab. For some reason, I think they can't be stood where they're blocked. Obviously, it's blocking the driver's view, I guess. So yeah, it's one of those things. Like, the bus drivers keep doing this. They keep ramming people on the buses, and then telling people to move down. Like, where do they expect people to move to? This is the thing. This is the thing. It's like, where do they expect people to move to? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, obviously, bus drivers also have the habit of letting people on with, like, with push chairs, with too many push chairs. Obviously, I think it's like 2 push chairs or 1 push chair in a wheelchair, and they don't, and then they don't put, they don't, fold them. Sometimes drivers will let 3 push chairs on when they're not supposed to do that. They'll let people on with suitcases and shopping trolleys and God knows what, and they end up blocking the downway. I remember we was on the bus going somewhere one day. It was the same day that we was on the bus when I nearly fell off the bus. It was the same bus. There was people with, like, trolleys and stuff blocking the downway, and there were seats available at the back of the bus, but people couldn't get down the downway because there were passengers blocking the downway of the bus with their shopping trolleys and things like that. People couldn't move down. This is the thing, the driver was telling people to move down, but people couldn't do that because there was these people with their shopping trolleys and everything blocking the downway. Nobody could actually move down. And my mum was having to go at the driver because he was saying move down, and my mum was saying to him, nobody can move down. Obviously, there are seats available at the back, but people can't get to them because they can't get past the people that have got, as obviously they've got their shopping trolleys and everything blocking the downway. And I honestly think that what drivers should do before they let people on with suitcases, with shopping trolleys or anything like that, they should get out of their cabs to make sure they actually have space to let those people on. If they don't have space, don't let them on. Because that's what they keep doing. Bus drivers keep letting people on their buses with suitcases and shopping trolleys when they don't have space, and it causes a lot of problems. A lot of times you end up with people either blocking the downways or with people either blocking the back doors or whatever, and it's ridiculous, it's dangerous and it's unsafe. If there was an accident, people could end up getting badly hurt and they wouldn't even be able to get off the bus. It would be a nightmare situation, and the bus drivers don't stop to think about that, and they need to stop. They need to stop and think about that sometimes. The other thing that I will say that pisses me off when I'm on the buses is when people have their pushchairs in the where the buggies and that go and the wheelchairs go, and someone with a wheelchair wants to get on the bus. Some people won't get off their asses and actually fold their pushchairs down, which would be the decent thing to do, but they don't think they should have to do that. At the end of the day, it is a respectful thing to do. I remember one day we went to Wetherspoons one day. We had my great nan with us and she was in the wheelchair. And we went to get on the bus. We went to get on the 309 came round. We were going home, the 309 came round. We went to get on the bus and we couldn't get on because there was 2 people in the buggy thing that already had their pushchairs in the buggy thing. So obviously, everyone got up to actually fold them down, which is what people should do. And then when we spoke to the driver, he didn't even get out of the cab and make them fold their pushchairs down, which is what he should have done. And he even tried telling us that wheelchairs didn't have priorities over pushchairs anymore, and it had actually been changed to pushchairs now having priority over wheelchairs. But when we got back to my nan's and my mum actually phoned TfL, the woman that she spoke to actually confirmed that the rules hadn't changed. So the driver had obviously lied. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, people don't even bother to fold their pushchairs down when someone in a wheelchair gets on the bus. How is that not? How is that's just disrespectful, and it's just ignorance. Someone with a wheelchair gets on the bus, do the right thing, do the decent thing, get off your backside and fold your pram down. If your child is big enough to sit on the child that's in that pram is big enough to sit on a seat, get them out of that pram, sit them on the seat, and fold that pram down so that the person in the wheelchair can get on the bus. Don't sit there and look at them as if they thought, as if to say, well, why should I fold my pram down? Just do it. It's a respectful it's a respectful thing to do. Fold the fucking pram. Just get up off your arse and fold the fucking pram down. It's a very simple thing to do, and it's actually a very respectful thing to do. But some people don't have the decency and respect to do things like that. You know, they're so ignorant and they're so rude. They don't want to do things like that, and it's sad. You know, wheelchairs always have priority over pushchairs, and that's how it's always going to be. I don't think that's something that's ever going to change, and I don't think it should ever change. You know, it has to be said. I mean, obviously, I feel like the other thing that really pisses me off is when people get on the buses and they don't have their oyster cards ready, and they're fiddling about in their bags and stuff looking for their oyster cards. It's like, have your oyster card in your fucking hand when you're ready to get on the bus. Don't be standing there fart-arsing around looking for your oyster card, holding people up. It's fucking ignorance is what it is. And then the people in the shops as well, and they're piss arse and they go to the checkout, right? And I've even encountered this many times. We've been in the supermarket, someone will go to the checkout, and they'll realise they've forgotten something, and they'll leave the queue to go and get whatever it is they want, and they come back and they expect to get in the same place in the queue. No, it doesn't work like that. If you leave the queue for whatever reason, you go to the back of the queue. You don't come back to the queue and expect to get back where you were in the queue. Go fuck yourself. You think that it's like so many people do this as well. They forget they forgot something they need, and they leave the queue to try to get whatever it is they want, and then they go back and try and get back in the same place they were in the queue. It don't work like that. What I've seen some people do is they'll have their kids stand in the queue while they go back and get something. That's another trick I've seen them use, and it's ridiculous. You know, it's just madness, man. I mean, I feel like some of these pet peeves are kind of valid, to be honest. Yeah, there's just all these like little things that make me so mad, and I think they make me mad for good reasons. You know, it's like also people on buses, like people eating food on buses. I can't stand that. It's like, wait, we don't need to smell that. Or people speaking really loudly on their mobile phones. Like, we don't need to hear your conversations, mate. You know, keep it quiet. You know, or people listening to music that really loudly on the buses. And I've had that as well. People like piss me off when people do that. I mean, yeah, it's just madness, really. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I hope you've enjoyed this short video. Well, this nice little video, and I will see you for another one soon. Bye bye.